The human's guts splattered on the wall as the Krell overlord blasted him with a plasma cannon, laughing at the pathetic weakling's demise. It was a mistake the overlord would regret, because one thing the galaxies had learned: when humans get angry, the universe trembles. Gabe stepped out of his battered transport ship onto the slick Zyrax streets. The spaceport smelled of piss, booze, and desperation. Gabe fit right in. He was a grizzled merc, here to meet a contact promising a big score. As he walked, his instincts tingled. The few locals scurried by, eyes down. It was too damn quiet. His hand drifted to his pistol. His gene-modded senses probed for danger. Every shadow could be a trap. The rusted claw bar sign creaked in the wind as he reached it. Inside his contact, Marek waited. The lizard man twitched, tongue flicking nervously. "You're late. Thought you bailed." Gabe slid in the booth, not blinking. "I'm here. Start talking." Marek leaned close, voice a rasp. "No job, a warning. Leave Zyrax now. Something big is coming. You'll get crushed in the middle when it hits." Gabe cocked his head. "Oh, what's coming?" Marek glanced around in paranoia. "Can't say more. Go while you can. Trust me." He bolted up and scurried out. Gabe chewed on the cryptic words. A sense of unease twisted his gut. Whatever was coming, it was bad news. End-of-the-world type shit. The kind that got even a hardened merc like him sweating. He needed to dig deeper, find out what had Marek so spooked, because when this threat arrived, Gabe had a feeling the fate of Zyrax, maybe the whole galaxy, would hang in the balance. If he didn't figure it out in time, they were all royally screwed. Gabe couldn't get Marek's cryptic warning out of his head. Every instinct screamed at him to dig deeper, so he tapped his network of underworld contacts, both human and alien. He called in favors, greased palms, and pried for any scrap of intel on this looming threat. Breadcrumbs started to form a trail. Whispers of a remote research lab, run by a reclusive Norcadian named Dr. Reznor. Rumors of unethical experiments and dark secrets. It stank worse than a Zorgax's armpit. Gabe knew he had to investigate. He prepped his gear and took his ship to the coordinates outside the colony. The research compound squatted on the barren landscape like an ugly tumor. Gabe engaged his suit's cloaking field and slipped through the perimeter. Gene-modded muscles carried him silently over walls. His hacking module bypassed security locks with ease. Inside, sterile hallways reeked of bleach and fear. Gabe reached a reinforced door, his override program making short work of it. It hissed open. The room beyond turned his stomach. Humans floated in tanks, bodies warped and twisted. Implants and mutations scarred their flesh. They twitched and spasmed, minds lost to agony. Bile surged up Gabe's throat. This was beyond unethical. It was an abomination. He had to shut it down. Suddenly alarms pierced the air. The floating humans jerked to unholy life, tubes and wires snapping. They shambled from the tanks, eyes blazing with madness. "Intruder detected," a cold computer voice droned. "Security protocols engaged." The mutant humans charged, howling. Gabe drew his plasma pistol and opened fire. His Orcs kicked in, reflexes and aim dialed to superhuman levels. Plasma bolts tore through the creatures. They screamed as flesh seared and bones shattered. But they didn't stop. Wounds knit back together. Limbs regrew. They kept coming. Gabe fell back, blasting and dodging. He had to reach Dr. Reznor. Had to end this insanity. He vaulted over exam tables, rolled under slashing claws. Pulses of pain hammered his skull, a psychic attack from the mutants. He gritted his teeth and pushed through. His pistol clicked empty. He drew a vibro knife and went to work, nano-edged blade slicing through muscles and tendons. Hot blood sprayed. Finally he reached Dr. Reznor's inner sanctum. The Norcadian hunched over a console, face lit by sickly green light. "You're too late," Reznor cackled. Madness danced in his eyes. "My creations are complete, living weapons to unleash upon the galaxy." "You sick fuck," Gabe snarled. "This ends now." Reznor smiled, a death's head grin. "You can't stop it. The age of humans is over. We will be the scourge of worlds. Gabe raised his pistol to execute the twisted scientist. He had to put this rabid dog down. Suddenly the floor heaved. A deep boom shook the facility. Reznor laughed, utterly unhinged. You fools, you've doomed us all. I was so close. An inhuman roar split the air. Heavy footsteps thundered closer. Something gigantic was coming, something worse than Reznor's failed experiments. Gabe spun to face the new threat, instinct screaming of danger. A hulking shape filled the doorway, blocking the only exit. In that moment, he knew true fear. A wall exploded inward. Dust and rubble sprayed. Through the hole lurched a hulking figure that dwarfed Gabe and Reznor. It was humanoid, but massive. Bulging muscles rippled under mottled skin. Its skull was misshapen, lumpy. Eyes blazed with a feral intelligence. Reznor's face paled. Prototype. The abomination roared. In a blur it lunged at Gabe. Meaty fists whipped toward him. He rolled right, narrowly dodging. A metal table crumpled like tin foil. Gabe came up in a crouch, plasma pistol spitting blue bolts. The shot seared the prototype's chest. It didn't even blink. Another lightning charge. Gabe couldn't react fast enough. He raised his gun, a huge hand clamped his wrist, bones ground together. His pistol clattered away. Gabe stared into those burning eyes. No humanity remained in them, just savage alien intelligence. His instinct screamed. He ripped free, metal fingers snapping. Pain flared up his arm. The prototype's jaws snapped shut on air. Gabe scrambled back. His gaze landed on a bulky gene sequencer. He heaved it up, servos whining. With an echoing bellow, he hurled the machine. It crashed into the prototype. Sparks and blood flew. Gabe didn't wait. He sprinted for the lab doors. His fingers flew over the keypad. Metal panels slid shut. Magnetic locks engaged with a reassuring thunk. Bestial roars and screams echoed behind. The prototype was loose, and it sounded hungry. Gabe's instinct said run, get to his ship, blast off this hellhole. But he couldn't. He had to contain this threat. Stop Reznor's abominations from ravaging Xerax. He dashed through sterile halls. Reznor's staff fled in blind panic. He ignored them. His destination was the control room. Gabe slammed through the doors. Banks of monitors showed carnage. The prototype smashed through walls like paper. It tore through the other experiments, unstoppable. Gabe's fingers danced over a keyboard. The lockdown protocol blinked to life. Magnetic seals engaged on every door. Tritanium shutters slammed down, trapping the horrors inside. But a new horror arose. A countdown flashed red. Reznor's failsafe. The entire facility rigged to blow. 10 minutes to catastrophe. 10 minutes before the complex and all evidence of atrocity vaporized into atoms. Gabe cursed. He had to hack the sequence, override the detonation, stop this insanity from spreading. He set to work, lines of code flying across the screen. Precious seconds bled away. Then came the footsteps, heavy, clawed feet pounding closer. The prototype sensed him. It was coming, drawn like a shark to blood. Gabe's mouth went dry. His time had run out. The galaxy's fate hung on his next choice. Escape to live another day, or give his life to bury this abomination. Sweat trickled down his face. The numbers counted down. The monster drew closer. He had to decide. Now. Gabe's fingers flew over the keypad, lines of code streaming across the screen. The numbers raced down, each second an eternity. Sweat slicked his brow. The prototype's roars grew closer, heavy footsteps pounding. 5, 4, 3. He stabbed the execute button. The countdown froze at 001. The doors exploded inward. The prototype charged through, a juggernaut of rage and sinew. Gabe vaulted the console, rolling under swiping claws. He sprang up, sprinting for the exit. "Run, little man," the prototype growled. "There is nowhere to hide." Gabe dashed through twisting halls, the creature's breath hot on his neck. He had to reach the power core, had to end this. He skidded around a corner, the prototype's bulk crashing behind him. Gabe slapped the door controls. Tritanium panels ground open. The core chamber yawned before him, a cavernous maw of pipes and catwalks. The fusion core pulsed at the heart, a miniature sun. Gabe leapt onto a catwalk, metal shaking beneath his boots. The prototype roared, giving chase. Gabe clambered higher, fingers dancing over his Omni tool. Rerouting power, disabling fail-safes, destabilizing containment. The prototype smashed through girders, sent equipment flying. It was relentless, unstoppable. Warning klaxons blared, red lights flashed. The core pulsed erratically, magnetic fields fluctuating. Gabe reached the apex, the core blazing below. His body ached, lungs seared. The prototype surged onto the platform, its bulk dwarfing him. Gabe raised the detonator, thumb poised over the trigger. "You think you can destroy us, human?" The prototype's words were a rumble, a quake. "We are the future, the next step in your evolution. You cannot stop what is coming." Gabe hesitated. The weight of the creature's words pressed on him. But then he saw Reznor's atrocities flash through his mind, the twisted experiments, the innocent lives shattered, all in the name of progress. Gabe's jaw clenched, his eyes hardened to steel. "Maybe you are the future," he said, voice unwavering. "But if that's the case, then I'll make damn sure you never see the light of day." He stabbed the detonator. The world went white. The core ruptured, a sun exploding to life. Searing heat washed over Gabe, hurled him back. He crashed to the platform, ears ringing, eyes seared. The facility quaked, supports and beams shattering. Through swimming vision he glimpsed the prototype. It staggered, flesh sloughing from bone. It screamed, a primal howl of agony and fury. Then the walls buckled inward, and everything vanished in a maelstrom of fire and shrieking metal. Pain seared through Gabe's body as consciousness returned, dragging him from the depths of oblivion. He cracked open bloodshot eyes, blinking against the smoke and dust choking the air. Debris shifted and tumbled as he pushed himself up, shattered concrete and twisted metal sliding off his battered form. Every muscle screamed in protest, his bones feeling like they'd been ground to powder. Gabe stumbled from the rubble, his augmented limbs barely responsive, servos whining and sparking. Blood leaked from a dozen wounds, the taste of copper thick on his tongue. He turned, taking in the devastation behind him. The research facility was nothing more than a smouldering crater, a testament to the destructive power of the overloaded fusion core. Flames flickered amid the wreckage, belching columns of greasy smoke into the sky. Gabe staggered away from the ruined complex, each step an agony. His mind reeled, flashes of the prototype's monstrous visage, of Reznor's mad laughter, of the fire and pain and the horrible, all-consuming need to stop the unfolding nightmare. A figure materialized from the drifting haze ahead, moving toward him with purposeful strides. Gabe tensed, adrenaline and stim injectors flooding his veins, his broken body readying for one last fight. But as the silhouette drew closer, he recognized the Norcadian's hunched posture and darting eyes. Marek, the one who'd first warned him of the impending doom. Marek reached Gabe, his scaled hands gripping the human's shoulders, holding him upright. The alien's face was unreadable, but his voice carried a mix of relief and grim resignation. "You did it," Marek rasped. "You stopped Reznor's experiments, destroyed the prototype, but the cost—" Gabe's gaze flicked back to the ruined lab, the weight of his actions settling on his shoulders like a physical burden. He saw again the twisted forms floating in tanks, the prototype's dead eyes, heard the screams as the complex shattered around him. "I had no choice," he croaked, his voice raw and ragged. "Those things Reznor made, they were an abomination, too dangerous to let live. I couldn't—" He broke off, coughing wetly. Marek steadied him as he swayed, the Norcadian's grip firm. "I know," Marek said, "but this is only the beginning. Reznor had allies, others who share his insane vision. They will not stop. There will be other facilities, other experiments, monsters like the prototype unleashed upon the galaxy." Ice crystallized in Gabe's veins at the words, a creeping dread that chilled him to the core. He'd thought this nightmare over, the threat ended. But if Marek spoke true... "We'll find them," he growled, a bloody snarl. "Hunt them to the ends of the void if we have to. I won't let this happen again, not while I still draw breath. Never again." Marek looked at him, something like respect kindling in his dark eyes. The alien nodded slowly. "I will aid you in this, my friend, but the path ahead will be hard and fraught with peril. We will make enemies of beings with the power to reshape worlds. The battle will be long and the cost high. Knowing this, are you certain?" Gabe inhaled deeply, the pain of his wounds receding as cold purpose flooded him. His next words were iron and fire. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life. This is a fight that needs fighting, and if not us, then who?" He held out a hand, his cracked and bloodied fingers rock steady. After a moment, Marek clasped it in his own. No more words were necessary. Both knew the score, knew the risks. This was a war unlike any before, a war against madness, against hubris, against the darkest reflections of sentient nature. But as they turned to limp into the wasteland beyond the crater, Gabe felt a flicker of something that might have been hope. For if humanity was capable of birthing abominations like those wrought by Reznar's twisted genius, then it was also capable of forging heroes. Heroes who would light the darkness, who would hold the line, who would stand no matter the odds. The galaxy had best beware. For when humans got angry, all of creation trembled. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.